Just give me a sec. Thanks. At the February convocation, Peter Senge asked, "Where are we?" And since I can do worse than paraphrase Peter Senge, I thought we could reflect on that question again tonight. Some of us are just starting the program, exhausted, perhaps a little apprehensive after a challenging week. Some of us have the finish line firmly in sight, still exhausted, but more confident in our abilities, buoyed by some invisible momentum and supported by the relationships that were sown and grown over the past year. Some of us, myself included, are basking in the absolute joy and pride of having finished this chapter and a bit stunned that it's over. And longer-term alumni may be looking back fondly on the time they committed to study and hopefully still treasuring the learning and the friendships they acquired along the way. Regardless of where we are individually, whether we've just started on a new path or are carefully tending enduring projects and relationships, students, professors, alumni, staff, and guests, and our honoree are here together because we have a deep passion for leadership. We are here collectively because we see an urgent need for more leadership in our workplaces and our communities. We see a world where there is too much polarized thinking, too much of either you're with us or you're against us, too much debasing opponents instead of debating ideas, and not nearly enough integrated and long-term thinking, empathy, or inclusion. We're here because we believe that great leadership transforms us, transforms those we encounter, and transforms the environments in which we operate. Tonight I wanted to share with you how the program has transformed me beyond anything I could have conceived. And it happened surreptitiously while I was madly working on assignments and checking APA formatting. I'm happy to report there is no APA formatting in this document. Almost exactly 2 years ago, I was sitting where you were a couple days ago in Rosansky Hall, the very first night of my residence week, and I wondered, what will this mean to me? How will I measure up? What will be the focus of my research? And those questions are all fine and they're natural. But roughly 20 months later, sitting in War Memorial Hall on the day of convocation, with classmates, many of them new lifelong friends, I marveled at all the stories in the room around me, stories that happened since our studies began. People got married, people had babies, parents and siblings died, jobs were lost and promotions earned. Classmates and family members were ill and then thankfully well again. People accomplished this amazing challenge in their second language, as single parents, and between trips to Afghanistan. People juggled life. Life went on, and still we did it together. In that moment, I realized that I had moved from a focus on me, my dreams, my needs, my fears, to deeply caring about my classmates' journeys, to broadening my vision of what matters, and fundamentally, isn't that what leadership is all about? Our own skills and abilities can only get us to a certain point, but then we're required to shift from a leading role to supporting others, because it's the only way to meet far broader and far more important objectives. That's the thinking behind the CME Leadership Award, an endowed fund created by my classmates that someday soon, we hope, can give someone that little boost, that extra incentive to be here with us one day. We have done so many things together, from late night Skype calls to yoga and rock climbing, that I asked my classmates for input into my remarks tonight to ensure their perspectives are reflected in the synopsis of our transformation. I am so honored to present these on your behalf. I used to think that leadership was about the leader. Now I know that leadership is all about empowering followers. And followers not as subordinates who look to the leader for guidance, but followers as contributors and leaders in their own right, making the experience far more complex, but also richer and more sustainable. I used to think that like eye color, leaders had a personal style, right? Autocratic, democratic, laissez-faire. Now I know that great leadership is situational, And whoever painted the cannon last night knew it all depends on the context. Nicely done. This was our canon from 2010. And maybe it's my economics background, I'll admit to this, but at first I kept looking for a formula. I wanted to know what's the best leadership model. So we saw Hersey Blanchard. I thought, okay, I'm going to figure out, do they need, willing, able, and okay, perfect, I'll be a better leader. And then I thought, oh wait, path goal theory, that's more complicated. It must be a better model. And then I thought, maybe this giant matrix, right? That's Victor Vroom. But no, 2012 cohort, let me save you the trouble. If you flip to the back, there's no answer key, just more stuff you're supposed to read. There is no Staples easy button when it comes to leadership, and always more to learn. I used to think it's faster and better if I do it on my own. Now I know that statistically, groups arrive at better solutions, and I appreciate the importance of building the skills and confidence within a team, and I want to thank Professor Lynch for that lesson. When we watched Gandhi as part of our coursework, I thought, I am no Gandhi. And I still know Gandhi. And I didn't embrace servant leadership at first. Now I know that leadership is all about service and empowering others, and I thank Professor Caravaggio for introducing the notion. I used to think that a leader is decisive and keeps things on track to achieve the vision. I'm a little linear that way. And now I know that a leader also challenges assumptions, includes those on the fringe and the bottom of the pyramid, and views consultation not as weakness, but as a sign and source of strength and of value creation. And I thank Professor Kirks for that. In the same vein, I look forward to hearing from Martin Connell, who's exemplified how leaders can include some of the most vulnerable populations and can create opportunity for some of the world's most disadvantaged people. Upon leaving the helm of the Toronto Community Foundation, Martin said, "The more we can do to build bridges, the more we can do to break down barriers, the stronger the city will be." And it was reminiscent of Michael Rock's dictum, "Relationships are the new currency." And we would be wise to apply that advice. And to my great shame, speaking of Dr. Rock, I did not have the first clue about business ethics. I thought it was about treating people nicely and signing my ethics code for my HR file every year. And now I know that ethical leaders have a moral obligation to scrutinize the social value of their product or service, the means of production, as well as the ends. And sadly, so many organizations today fall woefully short of that obligation. The impact of unethical leadership, unexamined leadership, include a global economic meltdown and bad public and corporate policy. And that creates unnecessary suffering for families and communities. I used to think that organizational change unfolds with a clear vision and a precise plan. I'm a girl with a plan. There's a boss, there's a plan, and the staff who implement change, right? You are laughing, yes. Thanks to Professor Grumman, I now see change as a learning process that respects and leaves room for emergence. To last, change is a process that embraces, involves, and becomes embedded in the entire system of an organization or a society. And I know that before organizational politics, many of us thought that hard work and results would pave our way to the top. But Professor Mao helped us understand politics, influence tactics, and the power of a great network. Just like the defense of the dark arts class at Hogwarts, you may not want to use all those tactics, but you should probably be aware when others around you are. And I'll admit, I'm a bit like Hermione Granger. I also used to think, study, 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 learn, learn, learn. My hands would get clammy if I was in a breakout group and we weren't talking about what was assigned, or it's getting late and we have to get back to the plenary session. And like many of you this week, Chuck Evans taught us, among so many other things, not to miss the learning while you're getting an education. And thank you. Even the feared research methods class taught us that while we do make better decisions with hard data, good leaders have to understand what is behind those questions posed, what are the assumptions, and that we need to question the validity of some of these assumptions. And thank you to Professor Islam for that, and for helping us to master the basics of SPSS, we're not quite sure who had the bigger challenge there. I want to thank my classmates who shared their lessons about readings, the role of the leader in decision courses and coaching. They all sound fantastic. Before Professor Lyon's class, some of you thought, leading people's easy once you know what box they fit in. Apparently, you quickly realized that, surprise, no boxes. And like my reflection in the convocation hall, what's more important is that everyone has a story. And great leaders take the time to learn these stories and to lead based on the needs, strengths, and dreams of their individual team members. Of course, to do that, you need to know how to coach those people and leverage their strengths. And here my classmates learned that rather than give direction and provide instructions and tell people what you know, the leader's job really is to provide guidance for self-discovery and self-development. Listen. We don't do it nearly enough in our hectic days. Listen and ask powerful and strategic questions to help others find the answers they already have within themselves, answers that they're eager to own and implement. And we thank Professor Redmond for that. Still, despite our best efforts, we're fallible. In the role of leaders in decisions, my classmates concluded that sometimes even the best leaders make poor decisions. So despite media's abhorrence of flip-flops, and they too like to polarize, great leaders are humble, admit when they've made a poor decision, and most importantly, are strong enough to lean on others, just as we leaned on one another throughout this program. And thank you to Professor Smith for that. There's Jeff. And the MRP, wow, what a process. I had a plan to master interorganizational trust for 6 disciplines in 14 weeks and maybe publish. And that was a bad plan. Instead, I learned about navigating uncertainty and complexity and straying way off the path I had set for myself. I learned about humility, to let go in order to move on, and I learned that I'm the one who has to be satisfied with my efforts at the end of the day. Shortly after the papers were in, I had a great lunch with a classmate. And we talked about what we were supposed to master in a master's degree. You know, there's something we never really tell you. We had a great laugh because we both agreed that after we wrote our papers, we would write a completely different paper the second time around. What we had mastered was self-mastery. We had mastered or learned about an approach, and really the material came in towards the end. To me, the entire MA leadership is like watching an illusionist. You're concentrating so hard trying to figure out what's going on over here, but really something totally different is happening, and you're learning about yourself or about a process. And the magic is, it is a far better gift, a more wonderful surprise than the one you had anticipated. Warren Buffett said, "Business schools reward difficult, complex behavior, but simple behavior is more effective." And he was echoing what Confucius taught in 500 BC. The master said, "It is rare for a man to miss the mark through keeping to essentials." And our leadership essentials include know and honor yourself, dream, serve others, be humble, listen, question, listen again, respect, include, reflect, and always learn. We bemoan that the Great Leader magazine covers and Man of the Year awards ignore the roles of teams that supported their success. So I want to thank our supporting cast. Patty and Kim and Jennifer, you encouraged many of us to apply. You have patiently and repeatedly answered our questions. You've driven some of us to hospitals, dentists, you've provided blankets, a listening ear, and that's the part we see. As Michelle mentioned, we know that with Ken and Michelle, you coordinate thousands of details so that we can blithely sail through our residence week, our books arrive on time, our passwords work, and that is not magic. That's dedication and hard work, and we thank you. So, class of 2012, where are we? We are so grateful to be together. We are thinking of our classmates who could not join us. We are mindful of our responsibilities as leaders. We're about to unleash our super simple yet super effective leadership powers on the world. And perhaps we are getting a little hungry. So thank you again from the bottom of my heart for the honor of representing my class here tonight. It's better than any grade, and maybe even convocation for me. And if you're not there yet, convocation's awesome. I open my heart to you, and you return the favor to me 1,000-fold. You shared your time, your talents, and those important stories. As much as I learned from our professors, I learned more about kindness, empathy, and grace from all of you. You'll notice here that there are no tables set for one at a leadership banquet. Perhaps because great leadership is not about any one individual, but about moving forward collectively and constructively. We know from Ernest Shackleton the importance of eating together and having fun, and I don't want to stand in the way of that for one more instant. So I was supposed to bring a glass up. I toast you, the class of 2012, to leadership, to transformation, together.